Have you ever felt that no one really understands your heart? Perhaps you've experienced that deep pain of being misunderstood by people you thought knew you. Maybe you've carried the weight of unfair words, judgments formed without knowing your full story, conclusions that others reached without taking the time to hear your truth. Or maybe right now, there is someone who has spoken things about you that simply aren't true, and you feel that frustration of wanting everyone to know what really happened, who you really are, what is truly in your heart. If you have ever felt this way, if you have experienced the pain of being judged unfairly, if you have known the loneliness of feeling that no one sees your truth, then tonight I want you to know something fundamental. There is someone who sees. There is someone who knows. There is someone who completely understands who you are and why you have done what you have done. And tonight, in the stillness of this moment, we are going to explore together a powerful truth about the God who sees your heart and defends your cause when no one else does. Psalm 17 begins with a plea so honest, it almost takes your breath away. Hear my righteous plea, O Lord. Listen to my cry. Give ear to my prayer, which is not from deceitful lips. Here, David is speaking to God with total frankness, with absolute transparency. And what strikes me as so remarkable is that David is not pretending to be perfect. He is not claiming he has never made mistakes. But he is saying something important. God, you know my heart. You know that in this specific situation, in this particular matter, my plea is righteous. I am not trying to manipulate you. I am not attempting to deceive you. My prayer comes from a genuine place, from a sincere heart. There is something deeply liberating about being able to come before God without pretenses. In our daily lives, we often feel we must present our best face, that we need to appear as if we have everything under control, that we must give the impression we are fine, even when we are not. But with God, there is no need for that. He already knows everything about you. He already sees every thought, every motivation, every hidden wound, every secret fear. And yet, He invites you to come, just as you are, and speak to Him honestly about what is weighing on you. David continues, "Let my vindication come from your presence. Let your eyes see what is right." Here is the heart of the matter. David is not asking others to vindicate him. He's not begging for public opinion to swing in his favor. He's not pleading for his accusers to change their minds about him. He's asking for something deeper, more meaningful. He's asking for vindication to come from God Himself. Think about what this means. When we seek vindication from people, we are at the mercy of their changing opinions, their biases, their limited interpretations of situations. But when we seek vindication from God, we are appealing to the one who sees everything, knows everything, understands everything. The one whose judgment is perfectly just because it is based on perfect knowledge. Let your eyes see what is right, David is saying. God, let your eyes that see everything, that understand everything, that perceive what is hidden from everyone else. Let your eyes see whether there is righteousness in my heart regarding this matter. It is a bold invitation. It is like opening your life completely and saying, "Examine me. Look, see if what I say is true." And then David does something even bolder. You examine my heart. You test me at night. You test me, and nothing wrong is found. I have resolved that my mouth will not sin. Here David acknowledges that God examines him constantly. And notice when he says, "at night." The night is when we lower our defenses. It is when we are alone with our thoughts. It is when no one else is watching. And David says, God, even there, even in those private moments when no one else sees, you examine me, and find no evil in my heart regarding this matter." This is not arrogance. David is not claiming to be perfect. In other Psalms, he confesses his sins, acknowledges his failings, pleads for God's forgiveness. But in this specific situation, he can present himself to God with a clear conscience. And there are moments in our lives too, when, though we are not perfect in general, in a particular situation we can honestly say, "God, you know that in this, my heart has been right. My motivation has been pure. I have not acted with malice. I have resolved that my mouth will not sin." This is important. David is not only speaking of external actions, he is speaking of his words, of what comes from his mouth. And this is relevant because often, when we are unjustly accused, the temptation is to respond with harsh words, to defend ourselves with attacks, to return insult for insult. But David says, "I have resolved, I have decided, I have determined that I will not sin with my words, even when others sin against me with theirs. As for human deeds, by the word of your lips I have kept from the ways of the violent." Here David is saying something profound about his choices. He has had opportunities to respond to violence with violence, to repay evil with evil, to follow the path of those who do not know God. But he has chosen a different path. Why? Because of the Word of God. The teachings of God, the instructions of God, the ways of God have been his guide. And this is crucial when facing injustice, because injustice triggers something primitive in us, something that wants to strike back, to ensure the other person feels some of the pain they have caused us. But following that impulse only leads us down paths that ultimately harm us more than our enemies. David understood this. He avoided those violent paths, not because he was weak, but because he was wise. Not because he didn't feel the temptation, but because he chose something better. "Uphold my steps in your paths, that my feet may not slip." It is a beautiful, humble prayer. David acknowledges that he needs God's help to stay on the right path. He's not assuming he can do it by his own strength. He asks God to sustain him, to keep him firm, to prevent him from slipping into responses or attitudes that do not honor God. And then comes one of the most confident declarations of the psalm. "I call upon you, for you will answer me, O God. Incline your ear to me and hear my words." David is not only praying with hope, he is praying with expectation, with certainty. "Because you will answer me." Not, "Perhaps you will answer." Not, "I hope you will answer." It is, "You will answer me." This comes from a history, from previous experiences where David called to God, and God answered. And based on that history, David prays with confidence now. Do you have that history with God? Can you look back over your life and see moments when you cried out to God and He answered? Maybe not always in the way you expected. Maybe not always in the timing you wanted. But did He answer? Because when you can see that past faithfulness, it gives you confidence for the present and hope for the future. It allows you to pray not with doubt, but with expectation, knowing that the God who answered then will answer now. Show your marvelous loving kindness, you who save those who take refuge at your right hand from those who rise up against them. Here David is asking something specific. He wants God to demonstrate His faithful love in visible, tangible ways. Not just to love Him in theory, but for that love to be manifested in real protection, in real deliverance, in real vindication. And notice whom God saves: those who seek refuge in Him, not the perfect, not those who never make mistakes, but those who, in the midst of difficulties, in the midst of their battles, run to God for refuge. Like a child running to their parents when scared, we run to God when we are in trouble. And He receives us, protects us, defends us. Keep me as the apple of your eye. This is one of the most beautiful and moving images in the entire Bible. The apple of the eye, the pupil, is the most precious and protected part of the body. Instinctively, we protect our eyes from any danger. We don't even think about it. It's automatic. And David is asking, God, protect me with that same instinctive intensity. Keep me as something so precious to you that any threat against me provokes your immediate protective response. Do you grasp the intimacy of this? The tenderness? David is not asking God to treat him as a disposable soldier or a useful servant. He is asking to be treated as something infinitely valuable, as the apple of God's eye. And the astonishing truth is that this is exactly how God sees you. You are precious to Him. You are valuable to Him. Your well-being matters to Him with an intensity we can barely comprehend. Hide me under the shadow of your wings. Another beautiful image. Like a mother bird extending her wings over her chicks to protect them from danger, heat, or storm. God extends His protection over us. Under His wings, there is refuge, safety, rest. There, predators cannot reach us. Storms cannot harm us. We are completely safe, completely protected, completely cared for. And then David describes the threat he faces. From the wicked who oppress me, my deadly enemies surround me. Everywhere, enemies. People who want to harm him. People seeking his destruction. It is a terrifying situation. But notice where David is. He's not frantically running to defend himself. He's not desperately attacking in every direction. He is under God's wings, in that place of refuge, from where he prays confidently for protection. They close their hearts to compassion. With their mouths, they speak arrogantly. Here, David describes his enemies. They have no compassion. Their hearts are closed to any feeling of empathy or mercy. And their words reflect that hardness of heart. They speak arrogantly, proudly, without regard for the harm their tongues cause. Maybe you know these kinds of people. Maybe you've been the target of their words. People who speak without considering how their words affect you. People whose arrogance makes them think they have the right to judge, to criticize, to speak about you as if they know you when they really don't. And the harm they cause is not small. Words can wound as deeply as any physical weapon. Now they surround me in my steps. They set their eyes on me to bring me down. David feels surrounded, cornered. Wherever he turns, there are his enemies, watching him, waiting for a chance to strike. It is like prey pursued by predators who never rest, who never stop seeking an opportunity to bring you down. They are like a lion eager for prey, like a young lion lying in ambush. This is an image of intense danger. Lions are patient, powerful predators. They hide, wait for the perfect moment, and then strike with devastating ferocity. And David is saying, that is how my enemies are. They are not simply annoying or irritating. They are dangerous. They are a real threat. And it is in the midst of this terrifying description of danger that David makes his urgent plea. Arise, O Lord, confront them, cast them down. With your sword, deliver my soul from the wicked. When David says, arise, he is using courtroom language. It is as if God had been seated, observing, and now David asks him to stand and take action, to intervene, to act as judge, as defender, as deliverer. Confront them, cast them down. David is not asking to have the strength to face them himself. He is asking God to do it, to stand between David and his enemies, to be his shield, his defense, his protection. With your sword, deliver my soul. Not with my sword, with yours. Because your sword is more powerful, more effective, more just. With your hand, deliver me. Oh, Lord, from men. from the men of this world, whose portion is in this life. You fill their belly with your treasures. They are satisfied with children, and leave the rest to their little ones. Here David contrasts two types of people. There are those whose reward is only in this life. They seek earthly wealth, worldly success, temporary pleasures, and often they seem to obtain these things. Their material needs are met. They have abundance. They leave inheritances to their children. And then there is David, and those like him, whose gaze is set on something more. As for me, I shall see your face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake in your likeness. Here is the complete contrast. While others seek satisfaction in temporary things, David seeks satisfaction in something eternal, to see God's face, to be in his presence, to be transformed to become more like him. This is the fundamental difference between two ways of living. You can live for what you can get now, for what you can accumulate in this life, for what you can experience before dying. Or you can live with an eternal perspective, valuing things that will last beyond this life, investing in what has eternal significance, seeking what will satisfy not only now, but forever. And David says something profound about that eternal pursuit. I shall be satisfied when I awake in your likeness. He doesn't say he will be satisfied when he has enough wealth. He doesn't say he will be satisfied when his enemies are defeated. He doesn't say he will be satisfied when everyone acknowledges his innocence. He says he will be satisfied when he is like God, when he reflects God's character, when he awakens in God's likeness. This is true vindication. It is not that everyone changes their opinion of you. It is not that your accusers admit they were wrong. It is that God sees you, God knows you, God transforms you, and in the end, you will be complete in him. You will be who he always wanted you to be. And in that place of being complete in him, you will find a satisfaction that no human vindication could ever provide. Now let's talk about what it means to live out the truths of Psalm 17 in our daily lives, because these are not just beautiful theological concepts. They are realities that should shape how we face unjust accusations, hurtful words, painful misunderstandings we encounter in real life. First, Psalm 17 teaches us the importance of taking our case to God before taking it to anyone else. When we are misunderstood or unjustly accused, our first impulse is often to defend ourselves to those judging us. We want to explain, justify, clarify, and there are times for that. But David shows us something different. He goes first to God. He presents his case to the one who sees all, knows all, understands all. Why is this so important? Because when we go first to God, we do several crucial things. First, we submit our case to the one who knows the whole truth. If there is something in our heart that is not right, God sees it and can show us. This protects us from self-deception. It is easy to think we are right in everything when we only see things from our perspective. But when we bring everything to God, He can show us if there are areas where we need correction. Second, when we go first to God, we receive His perspective on the situation. And His perspective is always more complete, wiser, fuller of grace than ours. He can help us see things we missed, understand motivations we did not understand, respond in ways that honor Him even when others have not honored us. Third, when we go first to God, we find comfort and strength we cannot find anywhere else. People can offer sympathy, but only God can offer true peace amid injustice. People may agree with us that we have been treated unfairly, but only God can heal the deep wounds that unjust words have caused. Psalm 17 also teaches us the importance of maintaining our integrity even when others do not. David could say with a clear conscience that he had resolved that his mouth would not sin, that he had kept from the paths of the violent. He had not responded to injustice with injustice. He had not returned evil for evil. This is incredibly difficult to do. When someone attacks us with words, when we are unjustly judged, when we are misunderstood, everything in us wants to defend ourselves vigorously, strike back, make sure the other person knows exactly how wrong they are. But David shows us a different path, a path of maintaining our own integrity, no matter how others act. Why is this important? Because when we respond to injustice with more injustice, when we return attack for attack, when we let others' actions determine our actions, we lose something precious. We lose our integrity. We become what we criticize. And in the end, we have harmed our own character more than any external accuser could have. Maintaining your integrity when others do not maintain theirs does not mean you are weak. It means you are strong. It means your actions are determined by your values, not by the actions of others. It means you maintain control of who you are, no matter what others do. Psalm 17 also teaches us the importance of trusting that God sees and knows us completely. David repeatedly appeals to the fact that God examines his heart, knows his motivations, sees his situation completely. And there is deep comfort in this when we have been misunderstood. Because here is the truth. People can only see from the outside. They see our actions, hear our words, but they cannot see our hearts. They cannot know our motivations. They cannot fully understand the context of our decisions. And therefore, their judgments, even when well-intentioned, are always incomplete and sometimes completely wrong. But God sees everything. He knows every thought that precedes every action. He understands every emotion that drives every word. He sees every circumstance that informs every decision. And, therefore, his judgment is always complete, always just, always right. When you can rest in the knowledge that God sees you completely and still loves you completely, something changes. You no longer need everyone else's validation. You no longer need everyone to understand your heart. You no longer need to exhaustively explain yourself to every person who misunderstands you. Because the only opinion that truly matters, the opinion of the one who sees all and knows all, that opinion is already determined. And it is an opinion of love. This does not mean we never clarify misunderstandings or defend ourselves. There are appropriate times and places for that. But it means we do not live in constant anxiety over what others think of us. We are not defined by the opinion of those who do not truly know us. We rest in the knowledge that God sees us, knows us, and loves us. Psalm 17 also teaches us the importance of asking for God's protection in specific ways. David uses these beautiful images. Keep me as the apple of your eye. Hide me under the shadow of your wings. These are not just nice words. They are specific requests for specific types of protection. When we face difficult situations, when we are under attack, when we feel surrounded by enemies, we need to learn to pray specifically for God's protection. Not just, God, help me, but God, protect me from these specific words. Guard my heart from the bitterness threatening to take root. Hide me from this particular attack. Give me wisdom to respond to this specific situation. God delights in answering specific prayers, not because He does not know what we need, but because the act of praying specifically helps us clarify our needs, recognize our dependence on Him, and see clearly when He answers. The psalm also teaches the importance of maintaining an eternal perspective. David contrasts those whose portion is in this life with his own hope of seeing God's face and awakening in his likeness. This eternal perspective is crucial when facing injustice, because injustice hurts more when we think this life is all there is. If this life is all there is, then every injustice is a final tragedy. Every misunderstanding is an irreparable disaster. Every false accusation is a wound that will never heal. But when we have an eternal perspective, when we understand this life is only the beginning, that something much greater awaits us, then we can endure temporary injustices with more grace. This does not minimize the pain of being treated unfairly. The pain is real. The wounds are deep. But it puts that pain in context. It is temporary. It is not the whole story. It is not the end. There is a coming day when every injustice will be corrected, every truth revealed, every misunderstanding clarified. And on that day, we will be in God's presence, transformed into His likeness, and we will find satisfaction that makes all the pain of this life worth it. This eternal perspective changes how we respond to injustice. It does not make us passive or indifferent, but it gives us patience. It gives us hope. It gives us the ability to forgive even when we have not been vindicated, to let go even when justice has not come, to move forward even when things have not been resolved the way we wanted. It is also important to note what David doesn't do in this psalm. He does not seek revenge. He does not ask God to punish his enemies in horrific ways. He does not delight in imagining their suffering. He simply asks for protection, vindication, deliverance. He asks God to intervene, to act, to defend. But he leaves the details of how God does that in God's hands. This is wisdom, because when we start imagining exactly how we want our enemies punished, when we start planning exactly how we want our vindication to unfold, we are assuming the role of God. We are trying to dictate not only that justice be done, but exactly how it must be done. And this is dangerous because our perspective is limited, our judgment imperfect, and our motives often mixed. It is better to bring the situation to God and say, "You know what is right. You know what is necessary. You see the whole situation in ways I cannot see. Act according to your wisdom, not according to my feelings. Defend me in the way you know is best, not necessarily in the way I imagine would be best." This surrender requires tremendous trust. It requires believing that God truly is just, truly is wise, truly has our best interests at heart. But when we can make this surrender, when we can release our need to control exactly how our situation is resolved, we find deep peace. Psalm 17 concludes with David expressing his ultimate hope. "I shall see your face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake in your likeness." This is the ultimate goal. It is not being vindicated before people. It is not everyone recognizing that he was right. It is seeing God's face. It is being transformed into His image. It is finding complete satisfaction in Him. And this, in the end, is what truly matters. Because human vindication is temporary. Opinions change. People forget. What was a scandal today is old news tomorrow. But God's approval is eternal. His love for you never changes. His knowledge of your heart is always perfect. And His work of transforming you into the image of Christ is what will bring lasting satisfaction, not the applause or approval of those who perhaps never understood your heart anyway. Tonight, as the fire burns softly, as stillness surrounds you, allow these truths to penetrate deeply into your heart. If you have been misunderstood, if you have been unjustly judged, if you carry the weight of false accusations, God sees you. God knows you. God understands your heart in ways no one else can. You do not have to defend yourself to everyone. You do not have to exhaustively explain yourself to every person. You do not have to live in constant anxiety over what others think of you. You can bring your case to God, present your situation before the one who sees all, and rest in the knowledge that He is your defender, your vindicator, your refuge. Maintain your integrity. Do not let the unjust actions of others lead you to act unjustly. Do not return attack for attack. Do not let bitterness take root. Guard your heart. Guard your tongue. Continue doing what is right even when others are doing wrong. And maintain your eternal perspective. This life, with all its injustices and misunderstandings, is not the end of your story. There is a coming day when you will see God's face, when you will be completely transformed into His likeness, when you will find satisfaction that makes all the pain of this life seem small in comparison. Until that day, you can rest under the shadow of His wings. You can trust His protection. You can depend on His defense. Because you are precious to Him, as precious as the apple of His eye. And He will keep you, protect you, defend you with unfailing faithfulness. Breathe deeply. Release the weight of having to prove your innocence to everyone. Release the need for everyone to understand your heart. Release the anxiety about what others think of you. God sees you. God knows you. And that is enough. Rest tonight knowing that the God who sees all, who knows all, who understands all, that God is on your side. He is committed to your well-being. He is working in your situation even now. And in the end, His vindication is the only one that truly matters, the only one that will fully satisfy your heart, the only one that will endure for all eternity. Amen.